History is often defined by its grand battles, its towering empires, and its earth-shattering discoveries. But sometimes, the most profound shifts in human history begin not with a bang, but with a quiet, internal realization. There was a moment in the life of a young man from Nazareth when everything changed, not with a miracle, but with a decision. This is the story of that moment, a human turning point that would ripple across millennia, before the parables, before the crowds, before his name was etched into the annals of time. He was a craftsman, a son, a neighbor. He lived among the common people of Galilee, in villages carved from sun-baked earth and stone. His days were filled with the scent of sawdust, the chatter of the marketplace, and the quiet rhythms of an ordinary life. But he was also an observer. His eyes saw more than just the surface of things. He saw the weary lines on a farmer's face, the unspoken grief of a woman who had lost her child, the quiet desperation of a fisherman whose nets came up empty, day after day. He witnessed the casual cruelty of power, the heavy weight of Roman occupation, and the rigid social structures that left so many forgotten and unseen. He saw sickness not just as a physical ailment, but as a sentence of isolation. He saw poverty not as a lack of coin, but as a theft of dignity. In these early years, he was a man of few words. He listened more than he spoke, absorbing the quiet suffering that surrounded him. He felt the pulse of his community, its hopes, its fears, and its deep, unspoken yearning for something more, something better. The world was a text, and he was learning to read its every line. This constant observation was not without its cost. To see the world so clearly is to carry its burdens. We can imagine him in the quiet of the night, long after the village had fallen asleep, wrestling with what he had seen. Was this just the way things were meant to be? A world of pain, inequality, and silent despair. The questions would have been immense, the weight of them heavy. We often think of him through the lens of divine certainty, but to understand his journey, we must see the human being. A man faced with an overwhelming reality, filled with doubt, perhaps even fear. What could one person do against the immense machinery of empire and tradition? What right did a simple carpenter have to challenge the order of things? The temptation to remain silent, to retreat into the safety of an ordinary life, must have been powerful. To continue his craft, to raise a family, to live and die in the obscurity of his hometown, this was the path of least resistance. It was the path of safety. But the images of the people he saw each day, the leper cast out from society, the widow ignored by the powerful, the tax collector despised by his own, would not leave him. His empathy became a source of internal conflict, a deep, human struggle between the desire for personal peace and the growing call of a greater responsibility. This was not a battle against external forces, but a quiet war within himself. The turning point, when it came, was likely not a dramatic event. There was no thunder from the heavens, no blinding light. It was something far more intimate and profound, a moment of absolute clarity. Perhaps it was sparked by a single, simple act of injustice he witnessed. Or maybe it was during a quiet moment of reflection, looking out over the Galilean hills, when all the threads of his observations, all the pain, the hope, the injustice, and the longing he had witnessed finally wove themselves into a single, undeniable truth. The truth was that silence was a form of complicity. To see suffering and do nothing was to side with the oppressor. To know a better way was possible and not share it was to abandon the forgotten. In that moment, the personal cost of speaking out became insignificant compared to the moral cost of remaining silent. The fear did not simply vanish, but it was overshadowed by a new and powerful sense of purpose. He understood that his life was not meant to be a quiet commentary on the world, but an active participation in its transformation. The choice was made. The carpenter from Nazareth would no longer just be an observer. He would become a voice, and so he began to speak. His first words were not grand pronouncements delivered from a temple pedestal. They were simple, powerful ideas shared in fields, on lakeshores, and in the homes of ordinary people. He spoke not of overthrowing empires with swords, but of building a new world through compassion and a radical sense of shared humanity. His message was revolutionary because it was so simple. He told the poor that they were blessed, that they mattered. He told the outcasts that they were welcome. He taught that the true measure of a person was not their wealth or status, but the love in their heart. He proposed a world where forgiveness replaced revenge, where humility was valued over pride, and where the most powerful law was to love your neighbor as yourself. At first, only a few stopped to listen. A fisherman mending his nets, a woman drawing water from a well, a tax collector sitting in his booth. They were drawn not by spectacle, but by the resonance of his words in their own hearts. He was speaking a language they had always known but had never heard spoken aloud, the language of hope. For the first time, someone was seeing them, truly seeing them, and telling them they were worthy. Slowly, the small groups grew into crowds, drawn from every walk of life, all hungry for the possibility of a different world. Why does this one man's decision to speak still matter 2,000 years later? Because it represents a fundamental truth about humanity. It shows us that history is not just shaped by armies and kings, but by the choices of individuals. His decision to break his silence was an act of profound courage, but it was a human courage, born of empathy and conviction. It demonstrates that one voice, speaking truth with love and conviction, can ignite a fire that changes the world. His life became a testament to the idea that our purpose is found not in self-preservation, but in service to others, that our own liberation is tied to the liberation of everyone around us. This single, personal choice to step out of the quiet and into the fray, to trade safety for purpose, set in motion a chain of events that would redefine ethics, philosophy, and the very course of Western civilization. It gave millions a new moral compass and inspired countless acts of charity, sacrifice, and social change throughout the centuries. Before Jesus of Nazareth changed the world, he first had to change his own life. He had to make a decision to speak. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more journeys into the human side of history.